Imagine discovering that the person you've spent your entire life trying to become was never really you. Not a dramatic realization. Not a single moment of betrayal. Just a quiet morning. A mirror. And the sudden, unbearable suspicion that the face looking back at you has been performing for so long. It forgot what it was performing instead of. Think about the last truly important decision you made. A career, a relationship, a version of success you've been quietly chasing. Now ask yourself something uncomfortable. Was that decision genuinely yours? Or was it the answer your parents were quietly waiting for? The path that felt safest inside your social circle? The identity that earned you the most approval? This isn't a story about changing who you are. It's about discovering who has been hidden beneath everyone else's expectations. Carl Jung spent his entire life on that discovery. He called the failure to make it the central tragedy of modern human existence. Not war, not poverty, not suffering in the conventional sense, but the quiet, invisible tragedy of a person who lives their entire life and never once becomes themselves. From the moment we are born, something begins happening to us. The world begins building a version of us. Parents teach us what is good. Teachers reward what is acceptable. Society assigns roles. Culture writes scripts, and fear quietly enforces all of it. And so, without realizing it, we begin performing. The dutiful child, the ambitious professional, the agreeable friend, the person who has it together. And the performance works. People respond well. We receive approval, connection, safety. So we keep performing, year after year, decorating the walls, buying nicer furniture, making the room more comfortable, never once noticing it is a prison. Jung had a name for the performance. He called it the persona. And if that word sounds unfamiliar, what it describes almost certainly does not. In ancient Greek theater, actors wore masks to signal their roles to the audience. Hero, villain, fool. The mask told the crowd who they were watching. Jung borrowed that image deliberately. He said we do the same thing. We build a mask, the persona, and we wear it so long that we begin to believe the mask is our face. Look at how this works in ordinary life. A young man grows up watching his father's face every time he shows interest in art. Not a lecture, not a confrontation, just a look. The slight tightening around the eyes, the silence where enthusiasm should have been. Slowly, silently, the lesson is learned. He buries the artist, He studies engineering. He earns the nod. At 35, he sits inside a successful career he has never loved. And he cannot explain why his chest feels permanently tight. Or consider what we do on social media. We do not share our lives. We curate a performance of our lives. We post the vacation and hide the debt. We share the promotion and hide the breakdown that came 3 months before it. We show the persona, and we measure our worth in how well the audience receives it. Jung was careful to say that the persona is not evil. It is necessary. We cannot expose our full inner world to every person we encounter. The mask allows us to function. The problem is not wearing the mask. The problem is forgetting you are wearing one. Because when you forget the mask is there, something else happens. The real self, the person beneath the performance, begins to disappear. Not suddenly, gradually. Like a photograph left too long in the sun. And you are left with a question most people spend their entire lives avoiding. If this isn't really me, then who am I? If this is true, then almost everything you've called yourself deserves to be questioned. The mind keeps its own accounts. Whatever the persona suppresses does not disappear. It does not dissolve because we choose to ignore it. It accumulates. Jung called the repository of everything we repress and deny the shadow. And the shadow has a way of making itself heard, not in grand dramatic gestures. In the anxiety that arrives without explanation on a Tuesday morning. In the exhaustion that sleep cannot touch. In the low, persistent feeling that something important is missing from your life, though you cannot name what it is. There is a story that illustrates this more clearly than any theory could. A woman spends 20 years building a legal career. Partner at 42, corner office, everything she was supposed to want. One evening, clearing out an old storage box, she finds a notebook from her 20s. Inside, pages of short stories she once wrote. Characters she created before anyone told her what a sensible life looked like. She sits on the floor of her office, and she weeps. Not because the career was a mistake, but because she had completely forgotten that person existed. That forgetting. That is what suppression of the self actually costs. Not catastrophe. Not collapse. Just a slow, steady withdrawal of aliveness. A life that functions, but does not feel. Nietzsche saw the same truth from a different angle. He wrote that the individual who does not become who they are will be consumed by who they are not. It sounds abstract, until you recognize it in someone you love. the parent who abandoned their own ambitions and now quietly resents their children's freedom. The executive who achieved everything they were supposed to want and feels nothing. They clap, you smile, and somewhere inside, another piece of you goes silent. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who began his life as a slave, understood something Jung would later confirm with psychology. He said the only true suffering is the suffering that comes from trying to control what is not yours to control. And for most people, the most desperate attempt at control is this: the attempt to control how others see them. So we sacrifice authentic choices for acceptable ones. We perform rather than inhabit. We manage the impression instead of living the life. We repaint the walls of the prison. We hang better art. We call the cell a home. And the real self waits. Patient, quiet, but never entirely silent. Jung did not believe people were broken. He believed they were buried. In 1913, something happened to Jung that would shape everything he ever wrote. He had a professional break with Sigmund Freud, the man who had been his mentor, his intellectual father, the figure whose approval he had unconsciously organized his career around. When that relationship ended, Jung did not simply lose a colleague. He lost the identity he had built in relation to someone else. What followed was a period he described as a confrontation with the unconscious. He withdrew from the world. He sat with the disintegration of who he thought he was. He wrote. He painted. He dreamt. And out of that darkness came the concept that would define his legacy. Individuation. Individuation is not self-improvement. It is not the pursuit of a better version of yourself. It is not optimization. Jung described it as becoming who you already are. Think of a sculptor standing before a block of marble. Michelangelo said the figure is already inside the stone. The sculptor's work is simply to remove what does not belong. Jung believed the self worked the same way. You are not building something new. You are uncovering something that was always there, hidden beneath the layers of conditioning, performance, and fear. Now consider this. Imagine a prison cell you have lived in so long that you no longer notice the bars. You have arranged the furniture beautifully. The books on the shelf are your favorites. You have almost convinced yourself this is simply where you live. Individuation is the moment you look up from the furniture and see the bars. Not with despair, with recognition. Because the door, Jung would tell you, was never locked. Jung was honest about one thing. This process is not comfortable. Every layer you remove requires you to let go of something you believed defined you. an identity, a role, a reputation, someone else's idea of who you should be. But the discomfort, he said, is not a sign that something is wrong. It is the feeling of becoming real. There is no 10-step system for becoming yourself. Anyone who offers you one is selling the persona a new costume. What Jung points toward is something quieter and harder. It begins with observation. Start noticing when you are performing. Not judging, not condemning, simply noticing. Notice when you change your answer based on who is in the room. Notice when you suppress an opinion to keep the peace. Notice when you feel relief after earning someone's approval. And ask yourself what you gave up to get it. Then begin questioning the beliefs you inherited. Not to destroy them, but to examine whether they are truly yours. The career you were steered toward, the idea of success you absorbed before you were old enough to question it, the version of a good life that was already written for you before you arrived. Here is the question Jung would ask you directly. Sit with it. What part of your life would disappear if nobody expected it from you? The gap between that answer and your current life is not a failure. It is information. It is the distance between the persona and the self. It is the exact width of the door that was never locked. Jung also understood something that most people resist accepting. Becoming yourself will cost you approval. Not everyone, not everything, but something. The person who begins expressing genuine convictions will lose the audience that preferred the performance. And for a time, that loss will feel like devastation. But Jung insisted it is not a loss. It is the first real thing. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that becoming someone meant acquiring things. Titles, credentials, admiration, the right image in the right frame. Jung said the opposite was true. Becoming someone means releasing things. Releasing the roles that were given to you before you could consent to them. Releasing the need for an audience to validate your existence. Releasing the comfortable lie that you have already figured out who you are. Walking out of the prison. Through the door that was never locked. The person you have been searching for is not somewhere in the future. They are not waiting at the end of a better year, a bigger achievement, or someone else's approval. They have been here all along, waiting beneath the roles you were taught to play. The question Jung leaves you with is not comfortable. It is precise. Are you living your life? Or are you living the life that was quietly assembled for you, piece by piece? by everyone except you. The mask is not who you are. It never was. And perhaps today is the first day you meet yourself.